All right. Welcome to another Salamander virtual reading. My name is Dr. Jose Angel Aragus. You're welcome to just call me Jose. And yeah, I'm really excited to celebrate this issue. This is the third virtual reading we've done for Salamander, and we're celebrating issue number 52. We've got some dynamic readers tonight, and I'm going to hold up the cover real quick because part of my introduction, I'm going to be reading part of the editor's note that I wrote for this. And it involves talking about this piece of art. So I'll just put it up here for a second. All right. And make sure I get her full name. This is by Shannon Miguel Dillon, and the piece is called Begin Again. And we were talking earlier, I was talking earlier with the readers. And I was saying one of the treats of the job I have is getting to select art. It's one of my, always feels weird, interests. I won't say passions, it's one of my passions. I feel like that's kind of, not so much what I want to say. I think interests, I am always fascinated, but it is something that I feel that I really enjoy getting to pick out. And so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give my introduction, and then we're going to introduce our readers. The order we're going to go in is Ananda Lima, Andy Smart, and we'll close off with Stephanie Burt. And in between, I'll give their bios, but I'll also be throwing links in the chat for those of you who are interested in learning more about our readers. We'll put that information in the chat there. So without further ado, also, I'm happy to be here. As you can see, I've got my little friend here. It's a little toy salamander. So all sorts of salamanders in the house tonight. All right. So my introduction. I have lived and worked in Boston longer under the pandemic than not. This means I have edited more issues of Salamander under the pandemic than not. I share these details with you in order to give an impression of how my experience of Salamander has been framed. The emphasis on survival and perseverance that colors and shapes my personal teaching and writing life also has its place in the work represented by these pages. The hours of reading submissions, followed by the hours it takes to organize and order the contents of an issue, and then more hours in front of the computer working out the layout and design. These hours have happened across a wide range of moments of my life. Hours talking and writing with friends and loved ones affected by COVID-19, as well as grieving for those lost. Hours of friends and loved ones, hours of preparing lesson plans and answering emails to students navigating their own unpredictable lives. Hours poring over the news for updates about vaccines. These hours all blur together and live around the work put into this issue. The fraught nature of these hours is one of the reasons I'm excited to share the artwork of Shannon Miguel Dillon. Her piece, Begin Again, featured on our cover, struck me right away for its balance of vibrancy and depth. In the colors of the flowers, there is a feeling of life and hope, of flourishing. Such sentiments are currently running parallel at the moment in the United States, as folks think of returning, quote, back to normal. But under the flowers are the human hands that are a stark contrast in their shades of gray and black. This contrast brings me back to the title, how the flowers feel like they represent the word begin, and the implied promise it comes with, while the hands represent again, which has the implication of time and effort. The word again reminds me that we have been here before, that life is not new, but continuing. This nuance reflects further the nuance of human life. While some are eagerly removing masks and setting aside protocols, others remain vigilant and brace themselves, still living lives of compromise without the privilege of any concept of normal. Dillon's work is also a celebration of the body and the self, of presence. And really, this is what I am hoping to emphasize in these opening words. By asking that we not forget the lessons of the pandemic, a pandemic that is ongoing and which continues to affect lives in irrevocable ways, that we not forget the power and necessity of protest in the face of systemic racism and oppression. I'm asking that we remember what is at stake, that we exercise the search for nuance through art so that we do not miss out on it in ourselves and each other. And what I'll add to that tonight is just, a thank you for being here, a thank you for all the things that y'all have survived to get to this moment. I appreciate y'all being here and making time for poetry and nonfiction and for literature in your lives. It hasn't been easy, and it's still not easy, but we keep moving forward. All right. I'm getting a note that perhaps there's an issue with the spotlight, so let me try something real quick. Okay, there's that. And I will now add. All right, hopefully that fixed that. All right, so I would now like to get the show going. I want to introduce our first reader, Ananda Lima. Your latest book is blowing up. It is great to see your work being celebrated, and just your latest poetry collection, Motherland, has just come out, and yeah, it's a great success and acclaim, very well deserved, and it is so cool to see. It's great to be in a community of writers, being able to facilitate these conversations and hold each other up. So I'm going to give you Ananda's official bio now. Ananda Lima's poetry collection, Motherland, Black Lawrence Press, is the winner of the Hudson Prize. She's also the author of 2 poetry chapbooks, Amblyopia by Bull City Press and translation by Paper Nautilus, a fiction chapbook, Tropicalia, and a poetry and photography chapbook, Vigil. Her work has appeared in the American Poetry Review, Poets.org, Kenyon Review Online, Gulf Coast, Poet Lore, Poetry Northwest, Salamander, sounds familiar, and elsewhere. She has been awarded the inaugural Work in Progress Fellowship by Latinx in Publishing, sponsored by Macmillan Publishers, for her fiction. She has an MA in Linguistics from UCLA and an MFA in Creative Writing and Fiction from Rutgers University, Newark. And it's a great honor to have you here, Ananda. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Jose. That was so beautiful. I love that, reading that introduction and hearing a piece of it today. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to read my 2 poems in this beautiful issue, and I had not noticed that I was wearing yellow, but it works. But I'm going to start. I'm going to start with a poem. I'll mix and match. And this first poem, it has a little bit of pandemic stuff, so it sort of connects a little bit with the conversation in the introduction. And this is an ekphrastic piece written after a photograph. I'll just very briefly describe the photograph. It's at a corner deli in New York, and I just love this photograph. I didn't know why for a long time. It's at a corner deli, and then there's people walking around with masks, and then there's 2 masked people sort of at the center of the frame, and one person is reaching to deliver this bag of food of takeout, and the other person is sort of arm stretched receiving the package. So I looked at the photo for a long time, and I realized that it really reminds me of the creation of Adam, that motion. So the poem is about that, and it's called Delivery. On the photograph, I see what I was, not seeking. God in the outstretched arm, the reach, the almost touch. I can almost remember how it was, almost all of us together in hunger for each other. Parto is the noun for delivery in Portuguese, as in child, not pastrami sandwich. At the center of the frame, almost turning the corner, I see her hungry, like God hungers for giving his languid creation breath. In her cloud halo, drapery of stickers, she stretching, he masked in her likeness. Parto is also a verb, to leave in the first person, or to divide. God knows what it's like to be lonely too. All right. This is the I live in I live in the eighth floor of a building, and they are having their very periodical window cleaning. So I know the person here. I was like, what is happening? But it's all part of the plan somehow. Okay. Um, okay, I'm going to read this one poem, and then I'm going to read a Salamander poem. All right. So this one poem, I think it's a very good introduction to a lot of the stuff that I did in this collection that just came out. It has a lot of the themes, and I bookmarked it, and I lost it with a person on the window. Okay, so this one is called Line. I inherited from my mother the knobbly joints and square ends of my fingers. From my father, I got the habit of biting my nails. Their shortness, the frayed missing skin, had never bothered me. But now I have a son, and he has begun to bite too. In America, I learned that I can snap a rubber band against my wrist each time my hand reaches up toward the mouth. On the back of my hand, the rubber band disappears into the color of my skin, but when I turn and face the inner side, it is a clear division of my body. The first time I saw a cotton tree, I found it beautiful. The cotton, so white in its brown cradle, so soft against the square tips of my fingers, I squeezed the dead flower around it and felt joy from hearing it crackle. As children, we had cups full of sugar cane. We chewed on it and spit out the bagasse. Toothless men ran the knobbly stalks through a machine. The juice trickled into our glasses, and the flat piece that came out on the other side was put through it again until everything was gone. The dry split stalk thrown into a pile, limp like blonde hair. When I first arrived in America, I didn't understand what people meant when they said, with an American accent, that they were Irish or Italian or French. Now that I understand, I asked my mother for a family tree. She said she had never thought of such things, and she wouldn't know much past her grandmother's first name. Sorry. So what I have is my memory of the faces of my relatives and my own. When I first arrived in America, all I could see was beauty. The snow, fine like sugar, white like cotton, but now the beauty, the land, the tired metaphors just make me sad. Before I left for America, I saw an individual in the mirror. But today, I see my father, my mother, my brothers, my son, and a man missing skin from tears on his back, and the man who did it. When I looked this morning, I tugged on my rubber band so hard that it broke. All right, so now, let me just put, there you go. So now I'm going to read one of the poems that is in this beautiful issue, and it's called Rapunzel. And this was written during this year, year and a half, 2 years, who knows, that this past time. All right, Rapunzel. My son asked me, how can she keep a baby from her parents like that? I think about her, the witch, as I cut off most of my hair. In the mirror, midnight split ends on marbled formica. I cut off my parents in the pandemic. There's only so much. Here, too, harsh overhead lighting, but our children plush under weighted blankets. And there's thin, metallic, designed for emergency. The witch can't be that cruel, he thought. My curls covered the white tiles. All right. So that was Rapunzel. I will read one poem from Amblyopia, because I think even though the work here as Salamander in the collection and in Amblyopia, they are on different things. There's this inherent and sort of thread. So amblyopia has a little bit of that. And amblyopia is this visual condition that is lazy eye that I have, and I supposedly right gave to my son. But it's much more severe in my son than in me, which is very all sorts of messed up. So this is a poem, Amblyopia. I learned to delight in gifts of myopia, the smudged edges of buildings in the distance, glass freeing itself from thinning outlines, the peach pink sky blended with its reflection. So cute how I never know where I am. Tilting my head, twisting my map to match the names, the grid I contain in my squint. How I hold a pen to tell what's right. How I guess from the phantoms what is left. I could laugh, the faint lavender fragrance, my condition a pastel-tinged party trick. Watch me get lost in my vapor, watch me get by until it thickens into clouds, condenses down into my son's eyes. All right, so that's amblyopia. Good. So going back now to the issue, and there is the second poem that I have in the issue. And I wrote this as I moved to Chicago 2.5 years ago. I love Chicago, but you know, the thing that you do in Chicago is go to the architecture tour, which is very expensive, but very fun. Um, and um, and you know, I was born in Brasilia, which is the capital of Brazil, and it's architecture is a big thing there. It was a planned city in the 60s, and it has crazy Jetsons buildings everywhere. And you know, in Chicago, I found a lot of things that sort of warm my heart, because I see buildings from like mid-century, and that really gets to me. And this uses the language from the tour. It also refers to a poem by Sylvia Plath, and in that poem, she refers to this statue. I'm gonna show you later, but it's the statue in Brasilia that I always loved, and I figured out just here. I learned that it was for two people who got buried in the building of the city. The two laborers. There was an accident, and they built a lecture hall on top of where their bodies are, and the statue is for them. Architecture tour. Here, what you see is the intent to express, the frame once concealed with ornament, once unimaginable. Here, flowers made as if cut by machine, as cog rotating hopes. Here, glass. Here, metal frame. Here, limestone. Here, ground. Here, unobstructed floor, imaginary walls to let the wind through, cave to its threats. Here, windows no longer receded. Here, modern and post. Here, your weakness for glass. Here, skyscraped. Here, water high above, like the tubes in your ears. Here, the difference. Still, still, still. Here, words you only know in English. Here, curved concrete you know without language. Here, bodies burrow under the lecture hall. Here's to people with torsos of steel. Here's to waiting for clouds. Here's to there, the masses that give them expression. Here's to caving. Here's to there, winged elbows, eye holes, orange hair. Here's to traffic cones. Here, britadeiras crashing stone. Here, brita. Here, bedrock. Here now, Chicago. Here then, so many places. Here, later, who knows? Here, then, there, now, there, the imbalance in the Brooklyn Bridge. Here, the tacky signage of his tower. Here's to your weakness. There, There, the masses caving to threats. Here's to those super people. Here's to ruins. Here the still. Here stand. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was awesome. Thank you, Ananda. That is, let's see, doing some transition. All right. Actually, no, that's not right. No, that was awesome. And if you haven't had if you don't have a copy of the issue, you should definitely check it out, because that poem in particular, hold on, let me, oh, that's the wrong thing. That poem on the page, one of the first things that struck me is how impressive it looks like on the page. Like it looks like a tower. It looks like a cascading kind of skyscraper of a poem. It's amazing to check it out. Gonna put in the chat there. There's Ananda's website. Y'all are welcome to check it out. Oh, we're getting the statue. There's the statue on the lip. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right, let me see. All right, so our next reader is Andy Smart. No, so yeah, I was telling Andy, I'm like, he immediately came to mind for reading because I've heard him read before. He's part of the Solstice MFA community, and yeah, he's just dynamic reader and dynamic person as well. Really warm and sincere person. So I'm really glad that he's here to share his work with us. Going to read the official bio now. Andy Smart earned his MFA in creative nonfiction from the Solstice Low Residency Program at Pioneer Manor College, which is currently transitioning towards LaSalle College. There's a whole, or LaSalle College, and just know we're here. We're still doing the good work. Anyway, Andy was a Michael Steinberg Fellow as part of this program. His work has appeared in Lilly Poetry Review, the American Journal of Poetry, and elsewhere. Andy was a 2019 Pushcart nominee. He lives in Missouri where he works too hard. I hope you get a break soon, buddy. Please join me in welcoming Andy.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you so much. And Ananda, thank you so much. That's truly gorgeous. We've spoken a bit about the pandemic and its ongoing effects on all of us. Knowing that folks like you exist in the world and are still doing these things that we do makes carrying on easier, and it reminds me why I want to. So thank you so much for being here. Jose, Katie, Salamander, Suffolk University, Stephanie, Emily, thank you so much, all of you, and thank you everyone for being here. This piece is called Shots Fired, and it begins with an epigraph from a poem by Kathleen Aguero. That poem is called Send Off. The dead are having a party without us. They've left our worries behind. Carrie was using again the last time I saw him. He was sweating anxious with icicles in his beard. Oil, dandruff, and road salt had begun to dreadlock his hair, that impossible mop of brown waves and curls he wore too long even when he was sober. I was sitting at the bar of Heavy Anchor, a wannabe dive where aging hipsters and stand-up comedians who live within a 3-mile radius come to tie one on. It could have been any night, but it wasn't. It could have been Christmas, Easter, Earth Day, or Race for the Cure, but it wasn't. It was Thursday, like today, like in Vallejo's poem, Blackstone on a White Stone. That poem is about dying and the ill humor of arms, so yes, it will always have been Thursday. Imagine, if you can, the sound of a cracked black vinyl bar stool under the ginger weight of a junkie who thinks he's keeping secrets. Mix this, cross-fade it, pull everything but treble, shame, and a low-fidelity microphone. Put Carrie, me, and our chairs in a soundproof box. This will not take long. Carrie sneaks past the room full of people and sits next to me. Giagwit, she says, phonetically, G-a-gwitch, translated from Irish Gaelic, God be with you. I never remember how to answer that, I say. Of course you don't, Carrie says, you thick-bellied Scotsman. He orders a round of beer and whiskey and asks me to pay. I'm light, do you mind? No, that's fine. Well, in that event, barkeep, can I get a round for my brother as well? How very kind of you, I say. Slancha, phonetically slan cha, Gaelic for cheers, but everyone knows that. Carrie and I touch glasses, shoot our shots, and chase them down with indelicateness. I get ahead of the action and order 2 more Pabst. Kanasatatu, I ask. I finally remember the correct response to an Irish hello. It means, how are you? There you go, Carrie says. Just a little liquid study up is all you needed. His laugh has the oak and vanilla of finishing barrels on it, and I want to kiss him. Kiss him on his mouth full of rotting dope teeth. How's Ma, he asks. Since my father shot himself, my mother is a semi-regular at Anchor too. She drinks diet soda and kvetches with my friends, most of whom, like Carrie, have adopted her as their own. She's fine. She'll be sorry she missed you. Give her a hug for me, like this. Carrie stands up, and as he does, the cuffs of his leather coat slide up past his wrists. When he comes in to wrap me up, the friction of his sleeves against my shoulders pulls them up so I can see the pinpricks and bruises in the crook of his arm when he releases me. He kisses me on the cheek as part of me dies. Novelist Charles Baxter hates epiphanies. In fact, he quotes fellow fictionist Raymond Carver thusly, "What good are insights? They only make things worse." Carrie was using the last time I saw him, and I knew it before I knew it, and that was enough. Confirmation did more harm. In order to gain a new insight, you have to be wrong in your assumptions about people, things, events. When I just knew instinctively that Carrie was back on smack, things were bad. But I could have been wrong, even though I wasn't. When the curtain lifts, there's pain. Baxter also contends regarding epiphanies, they are a tick of contemporary writers and their audiences. The light bulb moment is an expectation that's become a near requirement. So when Carrie died, as everyone, even you, knew he must, it was appropriate I found out third hand. My partner saw a Facebook post from a friend and reported it to me. "I'm sorry," she said. "So sorry." I was flat for a moment, my heart rate a perfect resting calm, my breathing steady, as if I'd subconsciously rehearsed this moment. I'm not surprised. Swing on a trapeze long enough, you're going to fall. Mess with heroin, you're going to OD. Honey, my partner says, he didn't overdose. I blame my father. From overdose, my mind goes to suicide. Carrie was 35. If he didn't die from a hot shot of black tar or a simple miscalculation of a loving spoonful, he must have killed himself. No, my partner says, not that. Murder is a strange word, unpleasant to taste, so my partner wouldn't say it right at first. Instead, she said gunshot, foul play, open investigation, no official verdict. And over the next 30 hours, the curse of radiant clarity came for me. My partner's illusions were translated by the local newspaper. Body of murder victim found in Tennessee Avenue basement identified as Carrie Smith. In his essay, Murder, Barry Lopez writes homicide almost nonchalantly, coolly. He's on a road trip, pulls into a filling station to get gas and a sandwich, and a woman climbs into his car, offers him money to assassinate her boyfriend, who, she tells the author, is at work in a garage, then leaves before Lopez can answer. The essay comes to a close with Lopez driving off past the body shop where the woman's boyfriend works into a future where he forever realizes that just beneath love lies grim death. It's almost a prototype of the epiphanic ending Charles Baxter loathes. A character comes to the swift, terrible understanding that everything they knew about life was a lie. The new truth, a rapidly hardening cynicism, replaces the comfort of innocence. But what of the revelatory moment in a story where the narrator is already disillusioned? I knew when I met Carrie, almost a decade ago, he was at best on the ever-present precipice of relapse. I loved him for his boozy emerald charm, our easy fraternity, the way he once pint-glassed a stranger for calling my mother a name. But I knew the odds of his unseemly demise were high, that every time he sidled up next to me and chirped, "What's the crack?" Gaelic for "what's going on or how's things with you," it might be the last time we spoke. He told me testicles are the most underrated part of any animal to eat. Putting ice in your whiskey is spitting in the mouth of God, and there is no precise way to say I love you in Irish. It's always more complicated in Gaelic, he said. Like when I say God be with you, if you were a native Irish, you'd one up me with God and Mary be with you. It's the same with I love you. It's more like you live inside my heart, dear one. We agreed it was better in Irish. I love you is too simple, too clean. It's the topical deception against which story insight must contend. The heart of a story lives inside one of its characters or in the synergy between characters. Story itself is just information, events happening in various frameworks of time. Everything is translation. 3 rounds of liquor and lager translate into a buzz you don't drive home with. Hellos and nice to see yous translate into outcries, fatigue, camouflage. A life lived between languages translates, at least on one occasion, into pigeon tragedy. Homicide comes to mean someone did to your friend what you always figured he would do to himself, on purpose or elsewise. Poetry should have a surprise. That's another craft convention. I don't know if Charles Baxter buys this or he doesn't, but it seems reasonable. If you know the story going into it, there's not much story, is there? A difference between linear narrative and cyclical lyric, perhaps, but probably more. Definitely more. Listen, Carrie was using the last time I saw him, but that's not a poem. Not a good story either. He carried himself from the turquoise door of Heavy Anchor over to where I was sitting. He carried a conversation about how lovely the mother we agreed we could share was. He carried an idiomatic dictionary of Gaelic pub expressions and ineffable Irish folk songs in his head. He carried my heart within his own. That's the story, his being, his self. See how I've slipped into past tense without meaning to? But that's where I started, isn't it? I came out of it to talk about my brother man Carrie because it was painful, not to speak of him present. Grief translates into a blurry account of the facts. I imagine Irish funerals the way I remember Carrie at the bar. A greeting, some small talk, lots of drinking, and love. Then the guest of honor departs without much in the way of goodbyes. Carrie never said good night, good luck, or may the road rise up to meet you when he left Heavy Anchor the last time we met. I took leave to use the bathroom, and when I came back, he was gone. One experience translates into a new normal. Fact is, I hadn't seen Carrie in a couple of years when I found out he was dead. Furthermore, I hadn't really thought of him for most of that time. Sometimes on a stray odd morning, I'd see a gaggle of street guys shuffling out of St. Matt's Cemetery where they'd hunkered down and sleep all night. One of them would half turn toward me without knowing I was there, and I'd think maybe it was him. Then the business of the day would intervene, and I'd forget again. I want to tell you the story of my mother in a pink floral calico dress standing at Carrie's casket in tears, or of the sad symphony of our friend group as we sang Danny Boy at Anchor in Carrie's memory. But the real epiphany isn't mine. It's yours. There was no funeral, and if there was, I didn't go. Carrie Lucas Smith was in heaven half an hour before the devil knew he was dead. And by the time I found out, he'd already poured 3 fingers of Jameson and set himself down in a celestial poppy field. I can't prove that, and I won't try. But when I see my boy again, he owes me for 2 beers. Bet I collect. Sláinte. Cheers, yes. But the root word is slán. It means goodbye. Thank you.
Yes, that was dynamite. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
That is,
Thank you.
whew, I'm over here catching my breath. Let's see, right buttons. There's Andy's website in the chat as well. Please check him out, check out his work. He's doing good things. Yeah, one of the things I love about that piece is the meditation across the things that mean something to us, not just words, but people and presence, and how you keep it keeps how that interaction itself, language, is slippery, and how the narrative itself is slippery. Just masterfully done. Thank you, Andy. Let's see, where that line with the devil. Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. So moving forward, really excited to round out this evening with Stephanie Burt. Who's just a great presence in the poetry community, big picture wise, small picture wise, all the levels. She is there, and the poems that we got for this issue. I mean, not only they're good poems, but I was really surprised at like kind of getting trolled while or rickrolled, I should say, while reading submissions. So I don't know, they woke me up in all the best ways. So I'm excited to have y'all hang here and get to hear her work. The official bio. Stephanie Burt is professor of English at Harvard. Her most recent books include After Callimachus and Don't Read Poetry, a book about how to read poems. A chapbook of poems about superheroes and other queer pop cultural phenomena will be out from Rain Taxi Editions by the time you read this issue of this magazine. A full-length book of new poems will appear from Grey Wolf in 2022. And without further ado, please help me welcome Stephanie Burt.
Hi. Am I audible and visible?
Not visible yet. That's on me.
Oh, that's on you. Okay, but I'm audible.
You're
Okay,
audible. Okay. Now
spotlighted.
you're in.
Oh man, my hair is a mess. I shouldn't have done this. I'm a disaster. I'm so happy to be here, and happy to be part of this magazine, part of this project, part of this community, and happy to hear the other poets we've just heard. And Emily, I hope it's not going to really throw you. I am going to read one poem that is not in the planned list. I'll read it slowly because it is an adaptation of the Cesar Vallejo poem that that we just heard from Andy Smart about, and it seems like a missed opportunity not to go there. A nickel on top of a penny, after Cesar Vallejo. I am going to disappear in Belmont after taking a walk in intermittent rain. I will vanish one day in Belmont. Don't correct me. On a warm day like today, a Thursday in fall. I know it even more than I know how we all want contradictory things, like security and excitement, immortality, hang gliders, gumdrops, a home and all the space in the world, Eden, Paris, Tokyo, cocaine. My writing hand hurts. To the good friends who asked me to dinner, I'm afraid I should tell you not to expect me. When you set the table, say, Stephanie couldn't be here, although we were good to her. We gave her presents for Christmas and such. We answered most of her letters, importunate as they became. We tried not to offend her. We sat through her chatter about piano lessons and telephoned her in the midst of a snowstorm last year. We think we could not have treated her any better. We never believed she'd simply disappear. And Emily, thank you for interpreting on the fly there. Simultaneous interpretation is always a challenge, and everything else will be, I think I'm going to be for about 10 more minutes. Everything else will be from the poems you've seen. Miami. This will be near the front of the next book. Not the sense of standing alone in front of a microphone, but the adjustments of playing along with a more experienced band. Not the fear of representing an establishment, but of representing it badly, of being inundated and then shipped home. The scallops whose breathing tubes pop up above the receding salt water through the overlaps of sand. The fear you'll sink like a skipped stone. The past, as it grows away from you, is thickening. The young reader in the too often washed Avengers t-shirt with the collar cut out had asked, how do you deal with the fear of existing? The insubstantial feeling that came to you then, the vertigo and the quickening. So I believe that Jose, the editor-in-chief, asked for this one, which is a very careful, tender poem called Love Poem with a Roll on Its Side, which does appear in the new Salamander. Am I audible? Are we good? Are we going too fast? We're good. Love Poem with a Roll on Its Side. What if you really had never heard it before? The throaty voice, the credibility and strength of a man who could always pick you up and bring you to that one place and keep you there and never abandon you, who would move only slowly and never in circles, a man who would hold your hand gently and yet unrelentingly, whose very hairline crept up to a heart-shaped peak, whose gentle curves matched black tea-colored eyes and as if penciled brows, so that those farewell free as long as you need me tones of reassurance in him and him alone could be believed. There is so little on this earth that you can trust, so little that comes around and never goes away, but we will always have this gem, this constant companion, this life preserver whose love is a promise you should have seen coming. He is indeed never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never going to run around and desert you. Poem, I hope, reads differently to various figures, depending on, where you are on the internet. Couple more? Couple more? Okay. Yeah, Rick will do that. Should we go with angry politics or queer people from Catalonia?
Yes.
Okay. So this is another adaptation from Spanish. And the poet is Catalan, but the poem, he wrote his poems in Spanish. He was active from the 50s to the late 80s, died in the early 90s. His name is Jaime Gil de Biedma. He is my favorite 20th century Spanish poet, not counting Lorca, who's in a class by himself. And this version, there's a version of him in I think all my books, or all but one. This will be in the next one, which will be out in 2022. The X-Men book, if you're an X-Men fan. Are there X-Men fans here? If you've got a favorite X-Men character, put it in the chat. I'll see what I can do. This is not an X-Men poem, though. This is a Jaime Gil de Biedma poem, and in English it's called Hymn to Youth. Where did you go? No. Where are you going? Where do you want to go? Years that made up my youth, however you count yourself now. Who will take you back to the beach? Remember how calm the grown-ups remained? Palms open, grasping their pencils and pens and their purses lightly in their left hands, when they should have known we would hurt ourselves? We hurt ourselves. We rumbled through our own imaginations as in the middens of clothes at $1 a pound, trying on gowns, capes, suits that never fit. You were the waves. We could live among the waves, arising and lapping and falling back, salty and pure like the salt inside us, our little breasts, our half curves, our ambitious, ambiguous bodies. You in particular were all insinuations, muscular hints I was never meant to take. Afternoon sun made a temporary mirror out of the last lenticular sand. Our footprints left stiff slots for future tears, the kind the sea brings everyone. We were becoming. We brought you, you kept us there, in search of crests and troughs, anywhere we could leap and dive and overwhelm our bodies, looking for conch shells, clam shards, far fins, dolphins, ways to call out to those other youth under sea who blew their triton notes and called to us. They were the capacious luxury of this life imagined as another life, more intense, more free. Look, I've changed my style from a one-piece to a two-piece, with scalloped briefs and fluffy ruffles. Want to see? You didn't want us so much as we wanted you, sophisticated starlet with the manners of a yawning lanternfish or the timidity of a just-crowned prince. When we lost one friend, we knew we would never find another. We never did. Salt hurt the bottoms of our feet. They said we would be kings if only we learned to hold hands. You were never one thing, my youth. You were a terror, a mischance, a come again, a kind of eternal return. When you come to my door today, far from the sea, I let you in. Sometimes you are Daphne, tormented by that insistent, obtuse pursuer, the sun, and sometimes you strike a pose, indifferent like Antinous, to what I want, to what anyone wants, content to be seen after hiding among the men and women, the training bras and the just-in-case shorts, the outgrown rain slickers and broken-in running shoes, the closets full of night and non-binary angels, the selkies, the griffins, the fair folk who taught you to fly. Come in. Sit down. I don't have a crown or a throne. I do have an armchair, a plush one I found on the street in August when the students were moving out. There are things I want you to see, now that I'm beautiful, as you wanted to be. Oh my God. Anna, Storm is great, but very hard to write about. Daniel Pritchard, you have hit the jackpot because oh, thank you, Jose, thank you. Daniel Pritchard, do you want or indeed need to hear magic, which is also a translation? Oh, Anna, oh no. Is your cat claustrophobic though? No? No.
Not that I know of.
Okay. So can we put Daniel Pritchard on here to explain who Ilyana Rasputin is for like just a bit?
All right, Daniel, you down for that?
Just need to be somewhere presentable, I guess.
Audio.
We got audio. Let me, I know my buttons. Hold on.
Hang on.
Ilyana Rasputin is Colossus's sister. She dips into a magical other realm where she found a soul sword, and she has all kinds of creatures that do things for her, but not always exactly as she would want them. She's a delight. And she's a relatively new character, right? I don't think she was she didn't go back that far. 90s maybe?
What? 80s.
80s? Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And who's she dating? Who is the love of her life?
Oh, name escapes me. Stephanie, you're so much more of an expert. I should not be.
That's okay.
Call me out.
No. She and Kitty Pryde, who now goes
That's
by
right.
Kate, have been a thing for a while. This was somewhat awkward when Kitty almost married her sister. When Kitty almost married her brother. But it didn't work, partly because Ilyana was there. That is an X-Men Gold number 30, an issue that I recommend to Daniel and to anyone else who's interested in literally sapphic relationships, since it turns out she's in this exact situation as the speaker in one of the great love poems that's at the fountain of the Western tradition of love poems, and of Sapphic love poems in particular, since it is by Sappho. This is Sappho 31. I'll do this one and then do one of the ones in the packet for Emily, and then we'll be done. Jose, is that the right amount of time?
Looks that sounds.
I mean,
You're
she has
rocking
a-
it. Thank you.
It's only two, right? What? Jose, what? What? Did you, what? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said you're rocking it. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm happy to rock it. So this version of Sappho 31 is called Before the Wedding. And Daniel, thank you for introducing Ilyana Rasputin, or Ilyana Rasputina correctly, to us. Before the Wedding. That man you're standing next to, for so long I looked up to him like a god. You are immured in conversation, and when he smiles back at you now, my heart skips, and not for him. Tonight I need armor to look at you. When I want to tell you how we should be together, no human language comes out. I have known this feeling that warms then scalds me before. When you and I touch, it's the best and the worst. I'm brittle tin. I'm paler than drought grass. I shake. My eyes turn black, and I can't see you. I can't see you anymore. And yet, I do. I am going to survive this experience, even if it's like coming back from the dead. Still, I wish I could be taking your hand now, even if my horns and tail would show. Let's go upstairs for a minute and look at the moon. Oh, Andy, thank you. I mean, all poems are events, really. But I'm glad these are events that you want to attend. One more? One more. And this will be from the set of poems that we gave Emily. Should I put the link in case people want to buy the chapbook that's all about that's really all about the X-Men? Because that is out now, and it's got that poem in it along with a poem about Logan, who's one of the Wolverines. There are others. Rogan Gambit poem. Some material about Scott and Jean and Emma. Anyway. I hope
Yes,
it's not.
please go for it.
It's in there. It's in the chat. You can order For All Mutants from Rain Taxi Editions right now if that floats your boat. So this is brand new, and I may never read it again if it doesn't work. But it's also very Boston, and a couple of my former students encouraged me to write it and finish it and share it. So I am taking a risk. My 1993. I lived in a closet. Also, I lived in a closet belonging to my then best friend's then beau, who lived with 3 other men in a central square walk-up, spacious and sunny except for the closet. The closet abutted Horace's bedroom. Horace is close to, but not quite his real name. He lived as a rent boy for a B-school professor. The others did, I never knew what they did, or consulting. I was proud to be the coat check girl at a former bowling alley recently converted to a cavernous rock club. I was working for tips. I needed to say I was working. I was playing at self-sufficiency. I was also playing records nobody else liked for 2 hours a night, 4 if the next DJ never showed up. I liked to pretend that other people were listening. Sometimes they called the station. I felt at home where no one could see me. I liked the Verlaines, Tree People, Small Factory, and Circus Lupus, and Sun Velvet Sidewalk, the Dead Sea and the Spinanes, who sang about anomie in a voice like sour cherries, sweet with overtones of sharp and ripe and bloodstain. When I moved out, I lost 2 crates along with a cardboard box of 25 10-year-old vinyl LPs I took home meaning the closet, when the former producer was giving them away, wrapped black and white with a picture of a naked toddler peeing. The band was called Sorry. They broke up before I could see them. The album was called Imaginary Friend. It's a good album. If you see it, buy it. Let me know about it. On that perhaps anticlimactic note, thank you so much to everyone here, and especially to the people who put Salamander together, the students and faculty, and the people who clean the buildings at Suffolk, and you know,
Yeah.
Ananda, and Andy, and everyone.
Yeah, no, I agree with Anna. Not anticlimactic. That was awesome. Thank you so much for reading that.
Uncanny is kind of the point. Uncanny is exactly the point. I'm
Yes.
happy to answer other X questions. I'm just going to put my Twitter feed in the bio, because in the chat, because that's what we're supposed to do.
Oh
I
yes,
would love to
definitely,
have
definitely.
Twitter or social media for Andy and for Andy and Ananda, if you want to put yours.
Yeah, I know for sure Ananda's on Twitter. Ananda had to dip for a personal reason, but she sends her best to everybody.
Okay.
Andy, do you have a Twitter account? I don't know.
Okay, I'll do them for you.
Okay.
Twitter is bad for you, but I can't stop, and you do meet people.
Well,
Thank you so
I'm
much.
a bit of
Okay.
I do lurk a little bit. I'm a great retweeter. I don't tweet my own stuff because I'm scared.
Stephanie, I would absolutely let you do my Twitter for me. Take it over. Become me. That would be a blast. Fucking take it.
I can't become you. I can't become you. That's
all right. So we've got some plugging in there. Some Andy, thank you for plugging your chapbook. All right, thank you very much for everybody for coming out. Let me hit the record button. We're officially done for the evening. Let me hit
stay
stop.
awesome, and I gotta go feed some kids.